Thank you for being a guest on my channel and just being willing to share your story.
Not a problem.
So, tell me a little about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Well, my name's Anton. Been in Seabrook all my life, pretty much. PG County. Grew up about 40 some years here, almost 40. I lived in Bowie for a little while, but mainly here in
PG
Seabrook.
County, woo. Okay, so you grew up here in Seabrook, and you went to, what schools did you go to?
Actually went to Seabrook Elementary, which our church Sharon does work with them.
Yes.
Then I went to Thomas Johnson Middle School, and then I went to Duval High School.
Ooh, say no shade to Duval. You know, Duval has a rep, but
interview's over.
Okay, get me out of here. Right? No. Let me stop shading Duval. After high school, what did you do? Did you start working? Did you go to school?
Well, I went to trade school. I went to Lincoln Tech, and it was
nice.
back when it was on Central Avenue.
Yeah.
I think they moved to Columbia not too long after I graduated, but yeah, right after high school, I went to that. Automotive technology, so worked in some mechanic shops.
Yeah.
Most of my work has been for myself, so I've done.
So I've
done your brakes for
yeah.
Too, so.
I'll put integrity detailing, everyone, please.
Yeah, that's currently now, but the mechanic stuff, yeah, I don't do that as much.
You don't really do as much mechanic now. Okay, so you went immediately after school, you went into your trade, and so tell me about, like, your story, like, as far as you being locked up or arrested. What happened? When was that? Take us through that timeline.
That was 2004. I got arrested, it was, I want to say January 2004.
Okay.
I was working at the credit unions. I've been working in banking for big switch from automotive stuff. But
yeah.
I was working in banks. I've been in banking for about 8 or 9 years. And that particular day, I had a half a day. I did an interview at Lowe's in New Carrollton.
Okay.
I was going to work,
still there.
Work during the summertime, 2 jobs, save up. Now I was going to start school when the school season started. You know, I was going to start at PG and then get some credits under my belt.
Right.
So, you know, I had this big, nice plan.
Yeah.
You know, and coming home after the interview with Lowe's, that went fine. They offered the position. So, you know, I was excited.
You're like, yeah, I did that.
Right. So, coming home, and, you know, it was a traffic situation. And I did end up having a handgun, which was the charge that I had. Didn't use it, you know, didn't shoot or anything like that. You know, it was an accident and ended up finding the gun. So, you know, I got charged with that. So, you know, it was dumb of me to have it in the vehicle. You know, I shouldn't, you know, thinking protection back in the days. You know, so that's kind of how.
And
I
still,
grew up
people think that. I mean, because in some laws, I mean, in some states, you can carry.
Right, you can transport.
You can transport.
In the vehicle, it'd be transport, and if it's on you, it'd be carrying.
Right.
But you can. I'm not sure in Maryland what the law is. You can actually in Maryland, but there's certain rules you have to follow to do that. But I wasn't following those rules.
Right, you wasn't right at that time. Okay, so oh my God, take me through how you were feeling at that time when you, like, he found the gun. You're probably like, oh my God, please don't. Like, were you worried?
It was kind of surreal, you know. It's just like I'm looking at things, you know. I'm handcuffed next to the police cruiser, and standing next to the cruiser, and you know they're searching through the car. They're not finding anything, you know. They're just looking. I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm thinking, a few more minutes I can go.
I'll be good.
Right. I'm like, Lord, get me out of this. I'm straighten up, you know. I promise, you know what I mean. You know how we always do.
You know we do, yeah.
This stuff. I'm like, Lord,
one more time. This is my last time.
Right, exactly. And next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, we found a gun." So I was just like, I just kind of shook my head, you know. I was like, "Well, here we go."
Prison, jail. What's the difference?
Jail is the police station up in Marlboro, since PG County. I'm gonna say the county jails are jail. Prison is when you go to state level or federal level. Those are prisons. Prisons have different levels, security levels. Pre-release, minimum, medium, maximum, and then they also actually have a supermax.
Whoa, supermax.
Yeah, I've never been.
You
in that
don't
one,
know
so
what those are, right? You've
in that
never
one.
been.
So I have done, and I've heard raps about it. I know what 23-1 is, where you're locked down for 23 hours in a cell. You come out for 1 hour a day. So when I was in Baltimore, DOC, the Diagnostic Center, so once Maryland picked me up from Upper Marlboro, went to DOC in Baltimore, and they go over your case and evaluate where they should send you.
Right.
Like Hagerstown, Cumberland, Eastern Shore. Just depends on what. I was going to say Largo. Jessup, so
Jessup,
another
right.
one too. So they sent me to Eastern Shore, but when you're in DOC, you're doing every other day it switches, so it's 23-1 and 21-3.
So you did experience 23-1.
Oh yeah. So 23 hours in the cell, and just 2 beds, toilet, and another person.
Yeah.
And for 23 hours and 1 hour to come out to use the phone. So the alternate day was 21-3. So on those 3-hour days, you have a little bit of rec time, like you use the phone. Get out in the rec hall, see some people.
You can play basketball and stuff?
No, not there. No.
Oh.
It wasn't. You were just on a tier, and that's it.
Okay.
It was crazy because as soon as the lights went out, the roaches, were literally coming out of the vent. Mice running
out
the door.
Are you serious?
And you can't do anything, so it's like I'm on the top bunk, and the vent's right here, and they start just coming out. It's like, what can I do? I can't.
You didn't try to stomp them out?
Nah.
Okay.
As long as they didn't crawl on me, I was fine, because they just go do you and don't bother me. But yeah, that's something I wasn't used to.
For sure, no.
So there's a big difference between jail and.
Okay, thank you for the education, because I was using it interchangeably. Interchangeably,
yeah.
Yes, interchangeably. And so it's good to know the difference. So while you were there, you hear also some myths, some stereotypes that if you do well, then you can be released early. Is that true? For you?
So I can only speak for Maryland, because that's where I did time in Maryland prison. You get what's called good days. So depending on your charges, if they were what they call violent charges, you can only earn 10 days a month for either going to school, working. If your charges were non-violent, then you could earn 20 days off a month for working and going to school. Ooh. So unfortunately, because I had a handgun, mine were only 10 days a month. But out of 5 years, I did 3 years and 2 months. So, that's because I worked most of the time, and I was cutting back my time, getting good time. So, and then you can lose your good time too if you do something,
you have bad behavior,
get in a fight, right, anything like that. Then they can take away your good time. So, it's a way that you can earn to get out a little sooner.
Yeah.
So you could sit around and do nothing, and I could have stayed there because I think when I went through DOC in Baltimore, they took off 10 months. So that would have left 4 years and 2 months for me to do day for day. I could have done nothing and stayed in there 4 years and 2 months. But I was like, well, if I can earn more time, why not? So I cut it down to 3 years. So I'm like, I knocked the whole year off by working. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So worked in a mechanic shop. Again, my automotive stuff.
Oh my God, so it was always a part, part of the plan.
I worked in an automotive shop in Eastern Shore. And that one was actually outside of the fence, across the street, but you had to have kind of like more clearance to get it.
For sure, that's a lot of not a lot of freedom, obviously, but it's some way more freedom than some people.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a blessing to get away from the environment that you're in and see something that's somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So and the CO that was watching us there, he was like, big guy. He was like, I'm not going to chase y'all. I'm just going to call in. If you run, I'm not going to chase you.
I ain't doing all that.
But they were real cool. They looked out. They were real respectful. And
good, because you've seen horror stories of the guards just being nasty and abusive, but that wasn't your experience.
I didn't have that experience. No, I didn't have any issues with other inmates. I didn't have conflicts with officers. The best officers were the ones that were consistent. So if they were going to be a jerk, then you knew when you saw them, okay, they're going to be a jerk.
Jerk. Right.
If they were cool all the time, okay, that officer's cool.
Okay.
You know, I hated the ones that were, I'm not going to say hate, but I didn't like the ones that were 50-50. Like sometimes they're cool.
You never know which one he's
and you're doing the same thing, and then the next day they want to write you up. Like yesterday you were fine with it, you know. So those are the hard ones to deal with. But if you were consistent, jerk, or you were cool, then
you're
okay,
like, all right.
I can roll with that.
Yeah. Now tell me about, you were a spiritual like advisor. How did you get? Is that the right terminology? What were you doing?
Well, in there they called him a spiritual leader. So let's see. When I was at the meeting facility, I just started going to the church services there. I didn't really get too involved because I didn't want to build too many relationships. This whole thing is new to me, so I'm just starting out. You know, I'm looking at, I got at least 4 years to do, and you know, I'm not trying to know too many people, but I did start going to the church services that they had Bible study. Then once I transferred to the minimum spot down Eastern Shore, I started going to the church there, and the chaplain, he was great. He was real involved in the ministry. You know, he really was teaching people to be leaders and really to grow spiritually. Wow. He was a pastor outside and then chaplain in the jail. So he was real great. So, you know, as I was going to the services, you know, the Lord was really pressing on me to do more in the ministry. So I approached some of the leaders like, hey, you know, is there a position that I can do? You know, so they're like, we have a position, you can be an usher. Wow. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, I'm not looking for a title. I'm just wanting to do more. Serve, right. So they were like, okay, you can be an usher. So started being an usher, you know, just greeting people as they come in for service, you know. Then they started, it was funny. So one day the chaplain had called me to his office, and one of the, at that time they called them acting deacons, which were the inmates, but they were the bigger leaders, not the ushers, but they were like they were like the next level leadership in the church. Yeah. And then it would have been the chaplain. So the head acting deacon and the chaplain were in the office, and you know, they both were like, oh, you know, the Lord showed us that you will be our next deacon. And I was like, it's funny because the Lord had already put on my heart to do that. So you're just confirming what I already know. So I was like, let's go. So, you know, I started being acting deacon there, and they were really teaching, you know, how to be a leader. So I started doing like exhortations and at the beginning of the services, stuff like that.
Wow. Then, you know, and your dad's a deacon, so it's like
right. So
in the family now.
People
this
were like, oh yeah, you can be deacon. Like,
Deacon Jones Jr.
Right. So, you know, and it really was preparing me for the next phase, because when I went to the pre-release down Eastern Shore, the chaplain there wasn't as involved. We still had outside guests coming in. That was his whole role, was basically making sure the outside guests were coordinated to come in. He really wasn't into connecting with the leaders there or the church there, you know, and really trying to push them and develop them as leaders. Right. So I kind of already had that training from the place I just left. Yeah. So
nothing goes to waste. That just reminds me.
Like, and then when I got there, they called him the worship leader or spiritual leader, which was at that facility was the spiritual leader. So he was getting ready to leave in like 3 weeks, and come to find out, he and I were in the same housing unit at the pre-release, and my reputation had already preceded me from the other place, so he was like, well, look, I'm gonna hand the reins over to you. You know, the Lord had directed him to place me as the next leader, so he was, you know, showing me the ropes of the flow of everything there. Yeah. So when he left, I ended up being the spiritual leader at the pre-release jail prison ministry there. So yeah, I was like, Lord, I didn't ask for this, but you know my heart, so I'm gonna do what you say, you know what I mean, as best I can. So I was gun ho and ready to go. So and then that just prepared me for the next spot, because when I went to Southern Maryland pre-release, again I ended up being a spiritual leader.
So at all three places that you were,
I was I was leader at the first one.
Okay.
Then I actually was the head spiritual leader at the next
at
two.
the next two, okay.
Right. And then this chaplain was even less involved than
So you
the
had
previous
way more involvement.
Right. So I mean, I was really coordinating a lot with the outside guests.
Yeah.
He really wasn't doing much. It was tough to even get pencils and chalk and erasers, for our Bible study. So.
Yes.
But I was being prepared as each step went forward. I was just trusting the Lord, and He was giving me enough to go forward and trust in Him. And then He made a way every time I transitioned to another place. So
wow.
And then again, ultimately coming home, then getting in church and becoming a ministry leader. So it's like, okay, all right, Lord, I'm here. I'm here. I'm available.
You're available, and that is huge that you were willing. Some people hear from God but they won't move.
Yeah.
And that's faith. I mean, that's truly what.
Yeah,
truly what it is.
Been there, not moving, like hearing it. I mean, I think we probably all go through that.
For sure.
I think majority of us
delay.
go through that.
Like, no, not me.
Right. I'm not ready to give up, these pleasures or whatever. I like doing this. Lord, if I do that, how are people gonna look at me? But
right.
When you trust Him, I mean, he'll blow your mind. It's just like, wow. You gotta keep God first. I mean, that's without saying. Just really think about your actions, because it can affect so many other people. People do things and they say, "Oh, I ain't hurt nobody. But then I looked at the pain that my mother and father went through, other family members, the pain that the finances went through. So just think about what you're doing before you do it. Because I mean, it only takes a quick second, and it could turn your life around. For me, that was my rock bottom experience. So.
Right. Yeah, and I think everyone goes through some type of rock bottom experience where it's like a wake up call, like, oh shoot, that could have went really left, or like even worse.
Yeah. And the real thing is, I could have avoided it. That's what's really bad about it, is something like that, and you can avoid that situation, but you still stumble into it. So it's like, I've kicked myself before, but I don't stay down. So that's the thing. So
exactly.
I started my business when I came home. I started my own business in the entrepreneurship life. Integrity Detailing LLC.
Ooh, check them out.
That was something that was in my heart to do. So the Lord made an avenue, even though I've coming out of this situation. He still made a way for me to start a business. Also got involved in my church. When I came home, they were already coming. Some of them were already coming to visit me. Because they knew my parents, and I'm first time meeting some of them in
oh my
jail.
God,
Yeah.
So were you like, who are you?
But like Pastor Claude, he was the first time I met him was, I believe, when I was locked up. So he came to visit. But so I got involved in the church. So I mean, as soon as I hit the streets, I'm back in church. Because I mean, I was heavily involved when I was in.
Right.
So then I just kept that going. Kept my faith walk going as I got out. So started doing audio ministry, because that's something I've been doing in another church when I was a lot younger.
Right.
Ended up becoming a spiritual leader of the audio ministry. So I'm still doing that now. I actually work as a contractor at a radio station now. So I do the sound engineering there.
A man of many talents.
And I also do a little bit of IT contracting. So I like electronics, audio, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So and corporate fast, we do that at the beginning of the year. Right. So one of the ministers, it came up to me just random, because I wasn't working steady, and he just random came to me. It was like, you ever thought about starting your own business? I'm like, that's kind of at the forefront of what I'm, one of my focuses on my fast. So I was like, yeah, I have. So he was kind of starting a little entrepreneurship group. He specialized in startups, business startups.
Yes.
So maybe a group of maybe 6 or 7 of us started meeting, and you know, it was really mind changing as far as like, why do you want to start a business? And you know, we were thinking like, you know, make money, support your family, things like that.
I don't gotta work under nobody.
But his primary thing was ministry. You know, that should be the main reason for starting, because if the Lord's gonna bless you with it, you know, how are you gonna use it to honor God and what you're doing, right? Yes. So, and then integrity just came to me, I mean, there's so many scriptures with integrity. I have them on my website. A lot of them in Proverbs. So he who walks with integrity. That's part of one of my scriptures that I have on my website. Yeah. So, you know, it was amazing how that came about, and then got the idea of starting it, but then, you know, I was like, Lord, I need the money to start it. It's going to take some money to make some money.
To be an entrepreneur, you got to put it out.
And again, all within sharing. So maybe a couple of weeks after we had started this meetup group, just one day after service, you know, I was talking to somebody, and they gave me a handshake, and they gave me a check.
Oh my God!
Right.
What?
So,
Lord,
you know, I get
that's
home.
how you know it's like he's just planning it out for you.
Right. I get home and it's a check for $500. I'm like, what? Really? Like,
wow.
Didn't tell this person anything about what I'm doing. So, I was like, okay, that's great, but I'm still need a little bit more. Right? You know what?
I'm trying to be ungrateful, but right.
So I was talking to somebody else in sharing, and about what I was trying to do, because my ultimate goal is to start hiring people that have been incarcerated. Yeah. You know, because I know the struggle.
For sure.
You know, I've been through the interviews, and great interviews. Resume was looking good, and conversation was great. Exactly. And then, but you got this on your record, you know, so society has labeled you as this, so we can't deal with you. I'm like, I used to be the person in the bank, you know, you come for a mortgage application, and you're seeing me because I was at the desk, you know, doing your application and stuff, so doing $1 million transactions in the bank, but now, you know, I'm looked at as not being trustworthy because of a mistake I made, minor, you know. Yeah, so I was talking to this guy, and he was like, well, how much do you need? And I said, well, I haven't actually pinpointed a number. He was like, get some figures together and come back to me. So I went back to him, $1,100 from him, and he was like, you know, if it takes you 10 years to pay me back, whatever, you know. So that was $1,600 that I had 2 weeks ago. I had no idea where I was getting that from, and that was enough to start the business. So that was 2012. Yes. 2019 now, integrity detailing is still growing. You know, I don't have employees yet, but
but you're working
at a point where I'm being overworked now, so it's
now it's
branching out.
Now I gotta hire somebody.
Right. So.
Wow.
Knowing that I am a child of God, you know, that the world may see me as one thing, but who does He see me as?
Okay,
you know?
that's right. That's all that matters.
Right, you know, my father was Deacon Jones.
Yes.
So, you know, I was brought
Deacon
up
Jones is the GOAT. If y'all don't know, we're gonna put him on here too. Put a picture to him. I love him. Yeah.
Like I say, get around people. You know, you got to cut off the negative stuff. So there was a lot of my homeboys.
You had that?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of people that I grew up with that I don't hang with now because you know, I see some of the same patterns when we were doing dumb stuff, you know, and I'm like, well, I don't have time for that, you know what I mean? I'm not going back. You got me
I know once, that's right.
I'm not going back, so, you know.
Not even fool me twice. You said, I'm out of here.
So you got to cut off some things, you know what I mean? And you got to surround yourself with people that are going to be pushing you forward and encourage you.
That's the right way, yeah.
Integrity Detailing, LLC. On Instagram, Facebook. I have my website. The website is integritydetail.com. 202-656-0427 is the number. You can call or text me. It is insured, you know, so you don't have to worry about your baby. It's in good hands. You know?